The Tyler, Texas Morning Telegraph has said, quote, "The strongest argument against national popular vote is that it would shift political battles to the big cities. In a popular election, rural areas would be skipped. This concern arises from the impression that the big cities are bigger than they are, and from inaccurate information about how presidential campaigns are actually run in popular vote elections in which every vote is equal and in which the winner is the candidate who receives the most popular votes." Just how big are the big cities? The 10 biggest cities in the United States are, according to the latest census, New York City, Los Angeles, Chicago, Houston, Philadelphia, Phoenix, San Antonio, San Diego, Dallas, and San Jose. Together, the 10 biggest cities account for only 8% of the U.S. population. The 50 biggest cities, and the 50th biggest city is Arlington, Texas, with 365,000 people, together amount to only 15% of the U.S. population. In fact, the biggest 100 cities contain just 1/6 of the U.S. population, and they voted 63% Democratic in 2004. Meanwhile, 1/6 of the people living outside the nation's metropolitan statistical areas voted 60% Republican. So the biggest cities are almost exactly balanced out by the rural areas in terms of population and partisan composition. The remaining 2/3 of the U.S. population live inside metropolitan statistical areas, but outside the central city. These suburban areas are evenly divided politically. We don't have to speculate how presidential campaigns would be run in an election in which every vote is equal and in which the winner is the candidate who receives the most popular votes. If the Tyler, Texas Morning Telegram is right, that presidential candidates would concentrate on big cities and ignore rural areas under a popular vote system, we would see evidence of their claim today, under the current system, inside the battleground states. Inside the handful of closely divided battleground states, such as Ohio, Florida, and Virginia, and Iowa, every vote is already equal, and the candidate is the winner who receives the most popular vote inside those states. Let's start with Ohio, the state that received over a quarter of the entire country's 253 general election campaign events, and a similar percentage of the ad spending in 2012. The biggest metropolitan areas in Ohio are the Cleveland metro area, the Columbus metro area, the Cincinnati metro area, and the Toledo metro area. These 4 biggest metro areas have 54% of the state's population. How did real-world presidential candidates, advised by the nation's most astute strategists, campaign in the nation's most critically important battleground state in an election in which every vote was equal and in which the winner was a candidate who received the most popular votes? The biggest 4 metro areas received 52% of Ohio's 73 general election campaign events. That is almost exactly their share of the population, actually a tad less. Ohio's 7 remaining metro areas are centered around the medium-sized cities of Akron, Canton, Dayton, Lima, Mansfield, Springfield, and Youngstown. These 7 medium-sized metro areas have 23.6% of the state's population. How did real-world presidential candidates, advised by the nation's most astute strategists, campaign in these metro areas? This 23.6% segment of the population received 23.3% of the campaign events. That is almost exactly their share of the population. The 53 rural counties outside the state's metro areas have 22% of the state's population and received 25% of the campaign events. That is almost exactly their share of the population, actually a tad more. In short, real-world candidates campaign everywhere: big metro areas, medium-sized metro areas, and rural areas, in elections in which every vote is equal and in which the winner is the candidate who receives the most popular votes. The geographic distribution of Ohio's 73 campaign events among the state's 16 equal population congressional districts tells the same story. Candidates don't ignore any part of the state because they need votes from every part of the state in order to win an election in which every vote is equal. Politically, the biggest metropolitan areas voted 54% Democratic in 2012, while the 7 medium-sized metro areas voted 52% Democratic, and the 53 rural counties voted 58% Republican. Just 4 states, Ohio, Florida, Virginia, and Iowa, received 2/3 of the 253 general election campaign events in 2012, and a similar fraction of campaign spending. The geographic distribution of campaign events inside Ohio is replicated in other battleground states, such as Florida, Virginia, and Iowa. Returning to the Tyler, Texas Morning Telegraph's claims about rural areas, the fact is that the current state-by-state winner-take-all method of awarding electoral votes diminishes the influence of rural states because rural states are generally not battleground states. None of the 10 most rural states are closely divided battleground states, and the only battleground state among the 20 most rural states are New Hampshire and Iowa. In short, the Tyler, Texas Morning Telegraph is dead wrong. It is the national popular vote, not the current state-by-state winner-take-all method of awarding electoral votes, that will assure that every voter in every state will be equally relevant in every presidential election. Learn more at nationalpopularvote.com and from the book, Every Vote Equal, a state-based plan for electing the president by national popular vote, which can be read or downloaded for free or purchased from Amazon. You can help make 2016 the last presidential election in which 3/4 of Americans are ignored in presidential elections by emailing your state legislators at nationalpopularvote.com.